In the northern Baltic Sea lays an archipelago of over 6,000 islands called the Åland Islands. Their political situation is clear in the modern day, however, was a hotly contested topic in the last 2 centuries, as this chunk of Finland is almost completely Swedish, yet also Finnish, and before the 19th century, it was a part of Sweden for hundreds of years. Officially, it is an autonomous region of Finland, but that's really just meaningless nonsense. Time for a history lesson. After the end of the Iron Age, the land that is now the Åland Islands became a ground for settlements by the Vikings. During the course of hundreds of years after the Viking civilization fell, the islands ended up in control of the Swedish Empire, along with Finland, Estonia, and parts of Norway. The empire weakened and fell in the early 19th century during the Napoleonic Wars and the Russian invasion of Finland. The Treaty of Frederikshamn in 1809 officially ended the Swedish Empire, and along with that, control of the Finnish-speaking parts of the empire. However, the treaty also ceded the Åland Islands to the Russian Empire. The islands became part of the new Grand Duchy of Finland, a state under the control of the Russians, until World War I, more specifically 1917, when the leaders of the Russian Empire, Tsar Nicholas II and the rest of the Romanov family, were executed. With the Russian Revolution in full swing, Finland gained independence from Russia. 5 years later, the League of Nations, which is the predecessor of the United Nations, ended the dispute over the island. You see, the majority of the population are ethnic Swedes, and in a 1919 poll, 96% wanted to join Sweden over Finland. These conditions, however, were not met, as the League of Nations ruled over that Åland is actually part of Finland. Under special circumstances, Åland was, amongst other things, not allowed to be fortified, had to remain autonomous with Finland, meaning their culture will be retained, and a local government can remain. The Åland Swedes still weren't happy until 1939, also known as the outbreak of World War II. The Soviet Union had launched an invasion of the Finnish state, the Winter War, an iconic war that saw the poorly trained and generally weak Finnish force overturn the great glory of the Red Army using guerrilla tactics and ski troopers. No joke. Finland were forced to cede 10% of the land to the Soviets, however. Still, the war changed the attitude towards the Finnish by the people of the Åland Islands, and generally accepted the fact that they are more a part of Finland, rather than an occupied region of Sweden. At least, all is good now, with any militaristic movements highly unlikely. Sweden and Finland are both part of the European Union and very friendly towards each other. It is essentially Finland with the Swedish populations, hundreds of years of back and forth conflict, and many interesting quirks. One of these is Merkert Island, an uninhabited 3-hectare-sized island in the Baltic Sea between the Åland Islands and Sweden. In short, Finland built a lighthouse on the island in the late 19th century before the border was clearly marked. Once it was established to be down the middle of the island, the lighthouse turned out to be on the Swedish side of the island and not the Finnish side. The compromise? In 1985, Finland would get the chunk of land around the lighthouse and in return have to give up an equally sized chunk of land of their side. As for the previous 100 years, lighthouse keepers had to technically cross borders to keep the lighthouse running. And this is what caused this strange border that you see today on this little island in the middle of the Baltic Sea. At least that lighthouse has been automated since 1977.